Okay, we're live for our last final episode of our Hangouts, our selection show. We're going to go over the 3A teams and their draws. We have Coach Jim Tante of Perry Meridian here, also Coach Ed Pendowski of Carmel. They're both here to talk about their teams and a little bit about the draw and kind of what they see in their areas. We got north side of Indy and south side of Indy covered. So first things first, we're going to go over the seeds and the brackets, and then we'll talk to the coaches. First things first, this is probably some of the most fun part is doing the seeds and everything. This one, a lot of people were discussing it. Number 1, we have Mater Dei. Number 2 is Penn. 3 is Perry Meridian. Number 4 is Warren Central. Number 5 is Carroll. Number 6, Cathedral. Number 7, Avon. Number 8, New Palestine. And the unseeded teams, Westfield, Carmel, and Bloomington South and Franklin. Dane, tell us a little bit about what went into you guys seeding this. It looked like there's about 3 teams that kind of separated themselves, and after that it's a roll of the die.
Yeah, as we were looking for who to put on the top line, it was really, are we looking at 3 teams or 4 teams? We ran through the head-to-heads between Perry and Warren at Marion County and decided that Perry should definitely be ahead of Warren. That got us down to 3. We didn't really have a whole lot of commons as they're from the far south, the far north, and right smack dab in the middle of the state. Penn had the big dual win with their full lineup over Portage, who's won some duels this year and beaten some top teams. Mater Dei got a late start to their schedule, but they had some big wins over Bloomington South and Evansville Memorial, who's in the 2A tournament. Perry obviously had the Marion County win which is always a great tournament, and beating Warren. They had the 64-3 to win over Center Grove. We basically went through, tried to look at results, individual guys, see how those teams matched up. In the end, we had a consensus for Mater Dei at number 1, and then we went back and forth between Penn and Perry, and ended up with Penn number 2. I think in the end it'll be those 2 teams that see each other in the semifinals for a spot in the finals anyways. As we went down through after that, we ran Carroll against Warren, felt that Warren was still number 4, ran Carroll against Cathedral, looked at some commons, looked at what Cathedral's lineup was going to be, looked at Carroll's lineup and who they had seen, and I think a lot of people underestimated them at the beginning of the year. We decided Carroll is at number 5. Joe did not deposit the correct amount of money into our account to get any higher than that. But we got some information from Cathedral on what their lineup was going to look like. We looked at their head-to-heads. Cathedral did have a head-to-head win against Avon. And then from there was a lot of talk about who the number 8 should be. We looked at New Palestine. We looked at Franklin, obviously. In the end, the loss by Franklin to Center Grove was enough to put them in the unseeded category. New Palestine had the 3-point loss to Cathedral, a couple other pretty good wins, and that's who ended up number 8. Like Joe said earlier, the defending champ goes unseeded, but we definitely didn't want to use Franklin as the defending champ as a criterion for seeding them. We felt that we should definitely go off of this year's results and what we know. So that's what we came up with.
Yeah, they're very much like Churubusco. We were talking about 1A, where they lost a lot of seniors, but Coach Hassman, he'll replace them real quick with those guys. As far as the pools are looking, Westfield draws into Pool A with Mater Dei and New Palestine. Carmel will wrestle with Carroll and Warren Central, and then Penn, Avon, Bloomington South, and then Perry, Cathedral, and Franklin. We're all there in the probably definitely a tougher pool right there. Got a little Indy love right there, Southside Indy. I know Coach Tante is they're gonna be on their heels real quick because I mean Franklin's gonna push them, Cathedral's gonna push them. So and our bracket is gonna look like that. We'll post these later so that everyone can see them. First round, like we said, is going to be the lowest seeded team versus the unseeded. Second round, highest seeded team versus the unseeded, and then the 2 seeded teams will wrestle in the last round of the pool play. So we'll get into talking with Coach Tante first. You saw your bracket, you saw your pool. Obviously, Cathedral and you guys go back and forth. What kind of things are you guys looking forward to this week with obviously after seeing your draw, and you guys were defending champion the first year and finished 4th last year, I believe. So what kind of things are you guys looking forward to this year after your draw?
Well, first off, I want to thank everybody for the work that they put into this. And I know, Dana, that seeding this thing's not an easy thing to do. So no matter how you do it, somebody's not going to be real happy about what they saw. So I definitely think we got a tough road ahead of us. I mean, we have the defending individual champs and the defending team champs in our bracket. So just to get to the tournament itself is going to be very tough for us. So and then you throw into it that Franklin and Cathedral both are rivalries. We've had some great duels with these guys over the years. So yeah, Joe, you said it. It's going to be a doozy right off the bat for us. So we're going to have to be ready to wrestle. That's for sure with what we got ahead of us.
Coach Pendowski, this is your 3rd year at Carmel. You guys got into team state, which is pretty good from where you guys when you first got there. What kind of things are you looking forward to, not only right now, but in the future? Kind of things you guys are building for for team state and such.
We're in the situation we're at Carmel. Going into a tournament like this, we're a little bit similar to Carroll and to Mater Dei. We still had our football players for 4 weeks, so I mean we're still training through this time of year right now. We've with our team this year, we're dealing with some yuck, just with some guys missing that we thought were going to be there, and we like where we're at talent-wise, but we just got to spend some time developing. We know where we're at, looking at the teams that are in this tournament, and we're looking for we're really looking forward for the opportunity to compete with some teams there. Wrestling Warren Central 4 days apart, as we get them guys next Wednesday in a duel with those guys in our pool. That's not a fun game or a fun match to play, because there's not a lot of love between the Warren people and the Carmel people, especially our football players. So I mean, but it's a great opportunity for our kids. We're really happy with what our kids have done and what the direction the program's going. We're not where we want to be yet. The phrase we keep saying to our guys is, let's get back in the blue group, into the blue practice room, and train and see where we're at.
That's one thing I've noticed with you guys' lineup. Obviously, seeing you guys run our pool, I was kind of looking at you guys' lineups, and they've been different every week. So, injuries and sickness and things like that, everyone's been dealing with that. And I know, I mean, we've had our full lineup like twice this year for about 3 duels. So things like that definitely play a part. What kind of you were at Portage for quite a few years, and now at Carmel. What kind of differences do you see at Carmel versus Portage?
I think that that's the number one question when I left Northwest Indiana is, how's Hamilton County? What's it like?
Uh-oh. You there? He claimed he was a technological wizard, and I think we.
Well, that was a tough question for Eddie right there. He probably wanted to lose you.
I think we lost you there for a minute.
It's genuine. It's genuine. There are parts of Northwest Indiana that were outstanding, and I'm glad they're parts of my life and things that I have, and I think they've helped mold me as a coach and things that we do. I know just the combative personality of Northwest Indiana. That's a lot of fun to have in your wrestling room, but it's also a lot of fun to have a team full of guys at Carmel. We got 65 guys on the team, and we have morning practice, and 65 will be there. I mean, that's nice. But there are times we wish we were more combative.
No, that's good. Coach Tante, I know one thing I look at your guys' lineup. You guys lost some pretty good seniors last year and come back, probably even have a little bit better team this year. I look at a kid like, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, Nan Ook,
Yeah.
who's a senior, first-year starter, and I see a kid like that when I was at Garrett, and, I see kids like that would have been JV for 3 years, probably wouldn't have stuck it out. How do you keep a kid like that out for the team? I mean, that kid probably would have been could have easily been at least a couple times semi-state qualifier, if not make it to Baker's Life the past couple years. And he's been behind guys like James and LeCount, and you could probably elaborate on that more. But as a coach, how do you keep a kid like that out and hungry and excited for the sport?
Well, I'm going to be honest, it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm also going to, probably bring up a sore subject, but the original team state tournament that we had with the IHSWCA was a big part of our program, and grew up through that time when we still had that tournament at the end of the year, and it meant a lot to our program. So he got an opportunity to see kids do what he's doing now. So I'm not saying that's a lost thing that we have. It definitely the team state tournament at the end of the year definitely played a role in the building of our program. There's just no way around that. Me saying that, it was a huge part of what we've done. Guys like Jordan Napier, who's JV right now and has beaten some top quality kids. He beat the Van Camp kid a week before season starts in a preseason tournament. But those kind of kids grew up in a system where we believed in. Our philosophy is we're only as good as the worst kid in our room, and because at some point that kid's going to be in a group with James and those guys. So we are big proponents of the team state. We feel like it has been a huge part of building in the sport of Indiana. I think we took steps backwards, and of course Ohio's adopted the right thing to do all of a sudden, and we're going the other way with it. But that point is gone for now at least. But that's you talk about Noon, and that's a kid that grew up in a system that believed in our room and everybody in the room.
Yeah, definitely a good thing to have. And Coach Bandowski went to was at Team State a few years with Portage. What kind of things are you guys doing? Do you have the same philosophy that it's team first before individuals, even with the change of the IHSA, how they declare a state champion and such?
We do. We going through a program what Jimmy's talking about of just having guys step up. It comes from a culture that's in your room, and if you've got individuals that are concerned only about their individuals, that's not long-term sustainable. Having a program that can deal with guys missing, injuries, grades, whatever happens, guys are gone. You got to have the next guy step up, and if you've got a culture of kids that are about the program and about a way to do things and a way to attack practice and just live a culture of wrestling of just be the toughest guy around, be the hardest worker in the room. And if you have a culture like that, that's what our sport builds, and that's what as educators it changes lives.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I know. I never got to experience it past sectional, so I know. I went to one of the team states when Mishawaka won, and the excitement there and stuff, I think, is lost. Do you guys? Coach Conte talk first. Do you still? How do you focus in your team? Do you guys focus as both the individual state as the state championship and this, or what's more what's the priority, and how are you guys coaching a little bit different now that we have 2 championships basically?
That's a good question, and we've a few years ago we've lost some really good kids over the last couple of years. I looked back and I put a list together of 6 Fargo All-Americans that came off that team a couple of years ago, and you put that kind of group together, it's going to be pretty special in the team or the individual. But we haven't changed our philosophy. Iron sharpens iron. We've always felt like that if everybody in the room, like Eddie said, creates a culture that no matter which kid you are, you're going to be the baddest son of a gun in the room, then that makes everybody else tougher. So, if Brandon James has 3 good workout partners that have to push him every day, guys that don't really care that it's Brandon James, then he's going to get better in the individual tournament as well, and then that just elevates our team.
We'll let Coach Pendowski. How do you? I mean, have you changed your philosophy a little bit, or still?
You know what, Joe? Even all the years at CIA, those were kids that came as individuals to come train with us, and we would say, winning individual state titles are really exciting things to do. But there's nothing more special than a quality dual meet. I mean, being a part of a program and being a part of a group of kids, and I mean, it was something we talked about monthly in a room full of individuals, and say, if you don't go home and help the guy next to you and develop something, because winning individual state titles puts cool patches on your letterman's jacket. But at the end of the day, you'll remember quality dual meets more than the individual stuff.
I can't tell you how many times. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you how many times we're wrestling in the team tournament where I'm looking over at Eddie's Portage team and they're in a dogfight with Mater Dei or Lawrence North, and hell, I couldn't keep my eyes off that dual meet. A quality dual meet really does something for the sport.
Definitely. I know we
Why
had.
You got to bring those dual meets up, Jimmy. Still trying to forget a couple of those.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Eddie.
We're gonna get some trash talking here. We're gonna bring up a couple. Pendowski, he looks like he has something in his back pocket to throw it. What kind of things have you guys both done? We'll start with Ed on this one. Anything special as far as like gear or any kind of parades through Carmel or anything that you guys are doing special for the event this week?
Well, Eddie's got to talk first because we don't have the money Eddie's got. So I mean, he's probably got. Hell, you guys are you bringing limos this weekend? What are you doing?
Grossly exaggerated. I don't think so. I mean, if you do too much of that stuff, we believe it puts unnecessary pressure on what's going on. We still, at the end of the day, our goal is let's evaluate how practice was today. What's practice going to look like tomorrow? What do we need to get done at the end of the day? And those are the things that in our room what we're working on more than anything else right now is what's going to happen in practice tomorrow. And we're going to roll into Ball State, not in limos, but we're going to show up and we're going to wrestle our dual meets. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing that we talked about before the days. We got to go to practice on Monday, and we got to get ready to wrestle Warren Central on Wednesday. And I mean, and after Wednesday, I mean, it's a never-ending story. And I think going back to the culture, it's what can you do in the practice room? Because no matter how good you are or how poor you are, it's that effort to get better, that desire to be special is the word we're using in our room right now. Who wants to be special?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. What about you, Coach Tante? You guys actually taking a bus, or you guys hitchhiking?
No, I got a couple things to say on this. First off, Eddie still wears the short cotton wrestling shorts, so Eddie definitely doesn't adhere to the I got the old saying, the Spike Lee, it's all about the shoes, money. I mean, we like gear, but for this one, we didn't do anything special, honestly. I was thinking about, if I thought we were good enough to beat anybody, which is going to be very hard to do, I was going to bring the big Falcon to Ball State and just blow it up, put it in the corner, but we're not that good.
Nice. No, it's interesting talking to you guys versus the 2A and 1A guys who, they're making a really big deal about it for their team, which is good. And, for the bigger schools, it's another bump in the road that you plow through. So definitely interesting to see. They put a lot more into it, and which
I think, and I think really what you're asking is, what does a tournament do like this for promotion of our sport? And I think we have an obligation as coaches to do things like that to grow awareness of wrestling in the state. And going back to some other years when I was coaching at the team state tournament, the first year that we went to the team state tournament, it's like, hey, this is great, this is exciting, and and all these other things are going on that make this a special event. But I think there has to be balance in those things too, and I think that's a little bit what Jimmy's talking about. We're not going to get special gear for this because I'm sure the Falcons are worried about if they're going to win a wrestle-off on Monday with the team that they have in their room. I mean, and so having balance in just about everything you do is, we need to do a good job as coaches to let the media know what's going on. We need to get promotion in the school. And one of the first things we did at Carmel was start to say, hey, this is a pretty nice size high school, and not too many people in the school are talking about wrestling, and we need to do our job to make sure that people are talking about wrestling. And so we've sent it out to our people and make sure I know that the attendance at our dual meets it's our responsibility as coaches and athletes and parents and alumni to make those things grow. And this tournament is doing an awful lot to get some awareness about things going on in the sport.
Definitely, I agree that we just one thing is promotion of this event, and I hope the selection shows, kind of talking to you guys and the other coaches, have helped promote it and kind of get a lot of people talking. I know we had some topics on the board and such, and when we're getting people talking on the board, that means other people are talking about it. And I know I had a parent asking me about seating and stuff, and was asked, when someone put that we were like 7 or 8, and he's like, we should be higher than that. I was like, well, I hope so. So those type of things. Coach Tante, what kind of you guys are looking forward to the event? You guys have won it. The addition of the 4 extra teams, how do you think that's affecting the quality? And instead of 3 quality matches, now you're gonna probably add another 4th one with Franklin. What kind of things have you seen that have grown since the first 2?
Well, I think somebody asked me did they water down this tournament, and absolutely not. I mean, how cool is it that on January 3rd we got 36 quality teams coming in to one place to wrestle in an event for Indiana. I think it's awesome. I think adding the team. I don't know where you stop, and I don't know. Maybe we get this thing to where we have a couple weeks of it, and we narrow it down and do some things with it and grow it back to where it once was. I don't know about the timing of it, though. We have to look at that. But this is a tough time for us being over break, because our fan base was usually really good at the team state at the end of the year. Being over Christmas break, it makes it a little bit tougher to get the fan base that we had during school time. But growing the sport, or the tournament to 12 teams is, in my opinion, and really doing the way we're doing it in pools, I think it's pretty cool. I think we've added some really quality teams, and I think this is going to help the sport in the long run.
Sounds good. Anything you've seen, Coach Pondowski, since you've been this is you guys' first year in it? Anything you guys seen that you like about the event, and definitely excited for hopefully more bids?
I want to see what the venue looks like. I think that if we can create an environment that is spectator friendly, I think we can have it in a hole in the wall for the people that are diehards. But if a guy's grandma wants to come watch wrestling for the first time and it's in a venue like Ball State that's impressive, I think the one concern I have going forward is the duration of time. Keeping tournaments super long, that's for the medium fan. Meatheads like you and me, we'll sit and watch wrestling from sun up till then, go home and watch a video of what we saw during the day. But to grow to the average fan, I think to the beginner wrestling fan, a long time is not that attractive. And so again, with balance, to do that weekly, that's not what Carmel's looking to do. But for a tournament like this, with the excitement, I think will be in the room, with the quality of competition, and also the quality of fans. I'm pretty excited to watch the Perry Cathedral duel, because I think that's pretty neat to watch those fan bases to sit next to each other. And it doesn't matter if it's wrestling or the band competition. That just those guys, it's what makes athletics fun. To watch 2 people go at it, and a couple of people think they're going to win, and it just makes it entertaining to see. And so I think that's really important. And if the venue is great, the concern I have going forward is the duration of time.
Yep, I definitely agree. I mean, we're starting at 9, probably ending at 9, and two buys. I mean, obviously, we'll have to see how it goes, and there's going to be some good duels, and they're going to last all of 2 hours. So, the venue, obviously, I've been a very, very big proponent of having it somewhere like Pepsi Coliseum. If you treat it like the Super Bowl, people are going to think it's the Super Bowl, whether it's January 3rd or February 20th or whatever it is. So, a couple last questions.
Okay, Joe, can I politic a little bit? I want to add on to something that Eddie said.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think Eddie will agree with this. He kind of talked about the time. At the same token, I want to talk about the number of matches. Eddie, like Eddie said, we would wrestle every day and do it all the time. But I would love to see the IHSA come up with something to where we limited or added more weekday dual meets and get the rivalries back. When I was in high school, back in 1842, we wrestled dual meets during the week and hardly on the weekend. And you got a good crowd and a big fan base, and rivalries were built. If we ever went back to that, I know, it's hard. We can't do it, and Eddie can't do it because we got to keep up with the Joneses and get mat time for our kids. But I would never be upset with the IHSA if they came up with some kind of format that said, let's cut back on some six-way quin duels, all that stuff, and let's start wrestling some more matches during the week and get those rivalries back and get the fan base there, because that's what makes it fun. Grandma and Grandpa don't want to sit for 8 hours in the gym on Saturday, and neither does my 4- and 6-year-old.
No, we've gone that way already. We've dropped super duels. We picked up a tournament in Illinois where we wrestled 3 times. The Hamilton County tournament was the longest we've had. We were done at 3 o'clock. This will be by far the longest that we're going to go to. The MIC is another one of our long days for us, but we're getting out of what kid wants to do that? Show up at school at 5:30 in the morning and get home at 7 o'clock at night. And so we've picked up as many dual meets as we can during the week. We try to wrestle every Wednesday, and it's about that. It's about growing a fan base. It's about getting the student body in the gym, and those are fun. Let's come in, let's be combative for 2 hours, and let's get the hell out of there. I don't know if I can say the H word on.
Well, I said
deeper stuff. No, I definitely agree. I know talking to the Belmont coaches last year, they were talking about that, about dual meets. We had a real good duel with them last year, and it came down in the last match, and the fans were in it, and we had a great picture of our fans. Our kid was down. He actually was a former Belmont kid, and I'll throw up some salt in the wound for Dane, but our kid was a former Belmont kid, pins the Belmont kid in the final match to win it. So that type of stuff you can't. I mean, my heart was racing an hour afterwards. So those type of things definitely good points. And about is it worth it getting another 3 matches or getting two duels that you're going to help build a fan base and maybe bring in a couple of future state champs or guys that are going to fill in your lineup and go far. So speaking of that, I was going to go on that the schedule type thing. Coach Pendowski, you guys go over to Illinois and throw your kids to the Wolves against Oak Park River Forest. How was that tournament? Tell us a little bit about the philosophy of going over there and kind of how it's gone the past couple of years and what you guys are looking for in your kids when you go over there and wrestle top 2 or 3 team in the nation.
Sure. The thought process was, the first year our staff took over at Carmel. We go to North Montgomery. The exact words were, we go to North Montgomery and get murdered by Parameridian with a bunch of guys that are starting to grow in their wrestling career, and then you got to go see Parameridian again in the semi-state. Or we can go find a tournament in Illinois and go get murdered by Oak Park and then never see them again. And then we wrestled Oak Park and went, that's a pretty good wrestling team. I think last year's team, I don't know if they're better than this year's team or not when you take out Mahomes and some other guys that they had. But we looked at their dual meet lineup against us last year when we wrestled them, and I think they beat Indiana in a dual meet.
I would have to agree with that.
It's creepy how good they are. We gave our 52-pounder, we were laughing all the way home because he blew a 1-point lead and got pinned by White, but it was because White walked out on the mat without his shoes tied. So they dinged us for a point, and then White GTD'd us and pinned us in 30 seconds. And we like our 52-pounder. But the other part that's nice about that tournament is you get out there, it's a little bit different style in Illinois. We wrestled 2 other teams that are, ranked or honorable mention in Illinois. But we get quality competition. It's our first time we get our footballers back on the mat, and we stop and have a meal on the way home. And it's kind of a team building thing. A lot of the team building is on the bus, and it's kind of something that we like a lot.
Sounds good. I know Coach Tante will go. You guys aren't afraid to wrestle anybody anywhere. You guys go up. You're gonna go to Team State, and then you're gonna go right back up to Belmont for the main event this year within a week. What kind of things are you guys looking at your schedule? I know you guys went over to Ohio for some duels. What kind of things you guys look at as far as your schedule? I mean, you guys start off with the Capital City Classic and wrestle some good. I mean, you guys wrestle good kid. I mean, there's no weak links in your guys' schedules.
Yeah, and really honestly, it used to be a little bit tougher just because we had a few more teams that we wrestled early in the year that have kind of, due to football and that kind of thing, Cathedral used to be he's got some really quality kids this year, and that used to be the beginning of the year. And then throwing a couple other teams that were used to be at our Quinn Duel. New Pal used to be there. And so we used to wrestle some teams earlier in the year that were a little tougher. We decided to go to Ohio because we wanted to get out of state. And honestly, the Ohio thing isn't what exactly, no discredit to the teams there. They're just not the tournament that we thought it was. So, we're looking at making some changes as it is. Man, a couple years ago, when Dolly was up in Michigan, we had it almost worked out where we were going to wrestle St. John before a Big Ten duel. That was that team. We had 6 Fargo All-Americans, and it almost happened, and that was going to be pretty cool. So I would love to do something like that again. I mean, going up and wrestling Oak Park is a great opportunity for Eddie's team. You're wrestling one of the perennial programs in the country, with a bunch of Fargo All-Americans on their team, and that kind of thing, you can't trade that. That's a great experience for your kids, especially. And I know Eddie's a wizard at his kids are going to take a butt whipping, but they're gonna come back and understand what that was all about, and it's only going to grow his team in the long run.
And we don't see him at semi-state.
Dane, do you have any questions for these guys? Luckily, I kept them off of your tail about the seeding and everything.
No, I think they made good points. As a 10-year-old going to Center Grove, watching Belmont, that was the pinnacle. Watching those matches, getting to wrestle Mater Day, that's what it was all about. And anything we can do with this event to bring back that Center Grove atmosphere, that's what we need to be working towards.
No, and I think one thing that's nice about this tournament is it's eliminated the parts of that the IHSAA weren't in favor of. I mean, the team regional and the team semi-state, we went through some years that was just brutal to go to. One team knows that they're way better than the other, and the other team shows up with lambs, and they don't wrestle the matches that you're going to see the next day at the regional or at the semi-state, and so a format like this, it eliminates the yuck of the team state tournament stuff of the past if we admit there was some yuck to that past.
Definitely, I agree. Having, if you want to be there, you're there. I know a few teams have declined, and I know the waiting list. People, a lot of teams are like, we'll accept. You invite us, we'll accept. That type of thing. Being able to see, more than one team from the same. I know, like in this couple of the other conferences, you wouldn't be able to see your different areas. You're not going to be able to see it. Cathedral's probably not going to get through if they have to go through Perry or other teams. You have good areas and kind of a weaker team goes through. Right now we're not going to have as many weaker teams in there. So definitely some perks and definitely some things. I hope that it continues to grow. Any last words of wisdom? Any shout outs to your homies or anything, guys?
I'm not touching that.
I thought you were pretty hip.
I'm not very hip at all. I can't figure out my computer. I had somebody tell me how to click go on Google Chat Room.
I saw you had your daughter there. She was probably helping you with that.
Well, hey, it's no secret, Eddie. We're dinosaurs on this stuff, buddy.
Hey, I'm glad you guys got on, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys on Saturday, and good luck not only Saturday, except unless you're awesome, Carol, and then the rest of the year, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Don't you owe me push-ups from a football game?
Nope, I didn't bet you. I wasn't that. I knew better.
I think you owe me push-ups.
I declined because I knew way better than that.
Hey, thanks for all you do. Thanks, Dane.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
no problem.
Thank you, guys.